Hello and welcome. This video is about skill 3, writing about graphs with future. And we will use this bar chart to discuss this skill. So what's going on in this bar chart? Well, the chart shows primary energy demand worldwide. Worldwide means in the whole world, global demand, with a forecast until 2045. A forecast is expectations or predictions. As we can see, there are projections until 2045. And the first year is 2020. It's already in the past. What else do we have here? Well, we have several fuel types. We have oil, coal, gas, nuclear, hydro, biomass, and other renewables. So this is in a nutshell what's going on in this graph. Different graphs about energies, about energy generation, about fuels are quite common in IELTS, so it's quite possible that you will have to write your report about this topic. So I would like to talk to you about words, phrases, and terms that may come in handy. And first of all, let's talk about energy sources. So we have non-renewable energies. Non-renewable is self-explanatory. It means that once they're finished, they're gone. They cannot be renewed. And here we have oil. You can also see the term crude oil, which is raw oil. Next one is natural gas. And also coal is one of non-renewable energies. All of them are here in the graph. Next, we have renewable energies. So these are energies that can be renewed and that are limitless. Theoretically, they can never finish. So here we have hydro or hydropower. This is energy which is generated from water. We also have biomass, wind energy, solar energy or sun energy, and thermal energy. Thermal energy is very common in Iceland, for example. They have lots of volcanoes and they build a lot of thermal power plants and use the energy of volcanoes. So this is thermal energy. These three fuels are called fossil fuels. So you can also use this phrase in your reports. Now, what about nuclear? It is not clear whether nuclear is a non-renewable energy or renewable energy. So scientists haven't decided yet. Why is that? Well, to produce nuclear, an element which is called uranium is used, and this uranium is non-renewable. So there is a limited amount of this uranium. So from this standpoint, nuclear is non-renewable energy. However, renewable energies always produce low CO2 emissions. In contrast, non-renewable energies, fossil fuels, they produce very high CO2 emissions. That's why they're so bad for the environment. So nuclear also produces very low CO2 emissions. So from this standpoint, it should be considered renewable energies. Anyways, a famous source of statistics, statista.com, doesn't include nuclear in renewables. So I would do the same. Let's say that nuclear is non-renewable type of energy. Another term that we have seen in the graph is primary energy. Primary energy demand. So what is primary energy? Primary energy is an energy form found in nature that has not been subjected to any human engineered conversion process. So all those fuels that we have seen, oil, coal, gas, wind, biomass, they're all primary energy. These primary energies get transformed. Yeah, they go through the process of transformation, and the resulting energies are called secondary energies. So, for example, electricity is a secondary energy. Anyways, let's get back to our graph, and let's talk about synonyms of the word energy. So you can use word energy in plural, like this, energies. You can also say energy sources. You can use the phrase energy mix, which is several energies used in the region. For example, we can talk about energy mix in Finland, yeah, or energy mix in US. In this graph, we are talking about energy mix in the world, yeah, because it's worldwide. Of course, we can use words renewable energy sources, or simply renewables or renewable energies. We have already talked about fossil fuels, and there is also a term mineral fuels. Nuclear is actually a mineral fuel. The verb generate is very, very useful. Generate energy means produce energy. And we can use generation as a noun, like energy generation, or for example, oil generation or fossil fuel based generation. This line graph shows electricity generation worldwide. So, in fact, graphs that talk about energy generation are quite common in IELTS. Okay, now at the screen you can see a report, and it is divided into 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph, as usually, is the paraphrase and the overview. And there are 2 body paragraphs. The first body paragraph is about most used energies, which is oil, coal, and gas. The second body paragraph is about remaining energy types. Here, these ones. Okay, now let's focus on the introduction. As I was paraphrasing the topic, I have used the word various. We have various types here, so why not use this word? Alternatively, you can go with words a number, for example, a number of fuel types, or several fuel types, or you can say the exact number, like 5 types. In our case, we have 7 types. In the topic, a word forecast has been used, yeah, with a forecast until 2045. I have chosen the word outlook in order to paraphrase the word forecast. You can also use the word projections. The meaning is the same. Now let's talk about the overview. Overview, as you already know, is a necessary element of a report. It should include 2-3 key features. And if your graph is about a period of time, then you should definitely talk about the change over the entire period. In our graph, we do have a period of time, yeah, from 2020 up until 2045. And of course, we will have to say what changes are expected to happen. For this, I'm going to compare the initial figures, the figures at the beginning of the period, and final figures, the figures at the end of the period. And as we can see, there will be an increase. So this information goes to the first sentence. Overall, primary fuel demand is projected to increase. Okay, you also know that it's usually a good idea to pay attention to maximums and minimums. So what are the maximums in this graph? Well, obviously these three fuels, which is oil, coal, and gas, they represent the maximum because they are the most demanded fuels. And this information makes up the second sentence. Moreover, oil, coal, and gas are expected to continue being the greatest contributing energy sources. So this is our overview. Next, we're going to talk about the first body paragraph. The first body paragraph, as we have already said, is about oil, coal, and gas. Usually, it's a good idea to start the body of your report with mentioning initial figures. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. In 2020, oil, coal, and gas were the most consumed fuels at roughly 80, 70, and 60 million barrels, respectively. I keep repeating that if there is a lot of data, a lot of information, a lot of numbers in a graph, of course you shouldn't describe every single figure, and instead you should try to group information. In this graph, we have a lot of numbers, and we will not mention every one of them. We will be grouping information. For example, here I say that, and their consumption is set to rise. I combined the information. I'm just saying that the demand is going to increase, and I'm not talking about every single figure. Also, if there is a noticeable change in trends, definitely include it in the report. So what is a noticeable change in trends? We can see that at the beginning of the period, oil was the most consumed fuel, coal was second, and gas was third. However, in 2030, the situation changed and coal became third most popular fuel, whereas gas became second most popular fuel. So coal and gas kind of changed places, right? So I did include it in my report here. By 2030, natural gas is expected to have overtaken coal, thus becoming the second largest fuel in the energy mix. And as I have already mentioned, there was another noticeable change in trends, which is the change in the demand of coal. It was growing, and then it started to decrease. So I have also included this piece of information here. Coal is the only fuel that is expected to experience a decline over the outlook period. In this sentence, I have used the verb overtake. Overtake or exceed means become greater. And this is what happened with gas and coal. So the demand of gas became greater than the demand of coal. And we're moving on to the final paragraph. I have started this paragraph with mentioning the initial figures. So the figures in 2020, which is the first year. And as you have already heard a million times, in graphs with a lot of data, group information and do not describe every single figure. So this is what I'm doing here. I am combining all the information about nuclear, hydropower, biomass, and other renewables to kind of one number. So I say that the demand was approximately 60. This is the example of grouping information. Another example of grouping information is here. All renewables and nuclear will see a rise over the forecast period. Another thing is, again, you've heard it from me, if there is a noticeable maximum or minimum, definitely include it in the report. So if we look at these fuels, the top fuels, we see that the purple one, which is other renewables, will see the largest change. You can see how thin it was here and how thick it is going to become. So this is the maximum in this case, and I am including it in the report, with other renewables witnessing the highest growth. In my report, I have used the word double. In this case, it's a verb, and the meaning is increase twofold. Become 2 times higher. This is another synonym of the word increase, and you can use it in some situations. Also, I have used this phrase that we have already discussed. All renewables and nuclear will see a rise. See has the synonym, which is experience, and now at the screen you can see more examples of how you can see the word experience or see to present data about this graph. I have also used the word mere in my report. Mere is an adjective, and the meaning is insignificant, very small, only. So this thin purple color block over here is really mere compared to what it will become in the future. In this video, we are talking about the skill of writing about future. So let's turn to this skill. When we write about future, we can take advantage of these verbs: forecast, expect, project, and estimate. They're all synonyms. We can also use these words as nouns. So, a forecast, an expectation, a projection, and estimation. So already you have 8 different ways of presenting information. We can also use the word an outlook. I actually have used it in my report. You have already seen it. An outlook is a noun and there is no corresponding verb. So these are examples of how we can use nouns in our report. According to the forecast, projections show, the forecast indicates that, the expectation is that, and the bar graph provides an outlook. So quite many options, which means that you have many options for paraphrasing. Next, let's have a look at how we can use verbs. And we will use them in passive voice in structures like this. It is forecast that. By the way, forecast in the past, in verb 3, can be either forecast or forecasted. Both are fine. Next is it is projected that, it is estimated that, it is expected that. So it's pretty much the same structure. We only change the verbs. So next structure is more advanced. And let me show you a few examples. Oil is forecast to stay the most used fuel. So in this structure, we will use subject in green. Then we will use one of our verbs in passive. Is expected, are expected, was expected, you got it. And finally, we will use the verb in infinitive. So to plus verb, like to stay, to decrease, to be, to plateau. Let's have a look at more examples. The use of coal is projected to decrease. Biomass is estimated to be the most used renewable. Natural gas is expected to be a more consumed fuel. And finally, global oil demand is set to plateau. By the way, I have added the word set to our list. This is just another synonym of these verbs. And it is actually quite commonly used in statistics. So this structure is already more interesting than the previous one. If you want to show more grammar, then definitely use it. Here you can see more examples of how this structure is used. So this structure is actually quite good if you want to show your grammar, so definitely use it. With that said, the next grammar structure that we're going to discuss is even more advanced. So here we're going to use to have verb 3. In the previous structure, we were using to verb, like to be, to experience, to have, to reach. And in this structure, we're going to use to have verb 3, like to have increased, to have doubled, to have declined. And already by the way it looks, we can say that this grammar is really advanced. So what is going on here? What is this to have verb 3? Well, this structure, to have verb 3, like to have increased, it's called perfect infinitive. And in our case, it shows that the action or event will already finish by the mentioned time. And like I said, this grammar is really advanced. That's why there is this cute thumb here. So let's have a look at the examples. By 2045, the demand of oil is forecast to have increased to almost 100. So again, the meaning is that when 2045 starts, the demand of oil will already increase. So this action will be finished by this time. By the way, the easiest way to use this complicated grammar is with the preposition by. For example, by the end of the period, or by 2040, or by 2035. So on the one hand, this grammar is advanced, pretty complex, but on the other hand, you can easily use it with preposition by. In the next example, we say by 2025, here, the demand of other renewables is expected to have doubled. Again, this action, the doubling, will already finish by the time 2025 starts. And finally, by the end of the forecast period, the demand of coal is projected to have declined. Again, the decline will already finish by the end of the period. And that's why we're using this to have declined. Here I have highlighted all structures that refer to the future, that present the information about future. So let's have a look together. Provides an outlook, is projected to increase, are expected to continue being, is set to rise, will retain, forecast period, is expected to have overtaken coal. This is the most complicated grammar, the most advanced grammar. Is expected to experience a decline, is set to almost double, and will see a rise. So the point is that if you're showing a variety of structures, a variety of words, your score will be higher because you're showing lexical resource and you're showing grammatical range. So that's it for this video. Up next is skill 4, ranking. I'll see you there.